3, 2, 1, boom. We are recording another episode of The Off Balance. Today we are in Toronto, GTA. It's snowing outside. I'm at Elliott Bayev's spot. Lovely space.
Thank you.
Elliott Bayev. We have been linking up for about 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Fifth time in Toronto, or fourth, fifth,
Something
sixth.
like that, yeah.
Doesn't really matter. It's been getting better and better every time. And we've been having a lot of cool ideas. And I thought we'd use this opportunity to chat about what we did, what we're doing, and then what we plan on doing in the future, because more people like you are needed in the community to, bring the sport to the next level.
Thanks, bud.
So those of you who don't know, Elliott Bayev runs OpenMat Academy in the heart of Toronto. I just got done working out there. Beautiful facility, amazing gym, amazing mats, super cool people, really cool environment, really, really good guys, killers, gi, no gi, all sizes, all styles. Highly recommend you guys go check it out if ever you are in town looking to train. So let's start off first thing talking about what we did. It was, I believe, 2-3 weeks after ADCC, we did a camp, Fight to Unite, it's called. We had a bunch of guys come down. Ethan came down. Cameron came down. Cameron Florzak. Andrew McInnes.
Yep.
And it was really, when I look back at the week we had, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of cool training, a lot of new styles, a lot of good connections. And, things like that really help. You don't see it right away. It takes a bit of time before you see the benefits, but I'll give one example. Just this past weekend, we competed at the Parabellum Quintet. And if it wasn't for that camp, I wouldn't have met Rory. And there you go. The connections were made, and we're looking to do another one. So, Elliott, first question for you is, after that camp, what do you think we could have done better?
I had a great time. I think everyone had a great time. It was kind of like a last minute idea. So there wasn't a lot of notice for everyone who was participating. So, next time I think just getting the word out a little sooner, but we got some awesome rolling, awesome instruction. We got some great footage we haven't shared yet. And the vibes were just great, on the mats, off the mats. I thought it was great. And it's just the chance to bring so many high-level guys together and get great training for our guys, for everyone involved. I thought was awesome. And I think there's a lot of value in giving people the opportunity to train with, seminars are awesome, but seminars tend to mostly just be kind of transmission of techniques, whereas actually getting to roll with people, and it's okay, sometimes people roll after a seminar, but a training camp, you get to train together for a week and pick someone's brain and then see, post rolling, what were you able to pull off, what were you not able to pull off, and pick the brains of that the whole group. And so that cross pollination I thought was really cool. I feel like I picked up cool stuff from each and every person.
That's true. So one thing that's interesting that's kind of happening right now, so we competed, Team TriStar, we had other bunch of teams, and what's cool about it is that so Ethan and I, we taught a couple of seminars. So I got to go and train and teach at a school where people came to watch me compete. They came and watched me compete, and they saw what I was doing, and then I was able to reference, what I was teaching to the competition or things that didn't work. So it's everybody's kind of more involved, feel more involved. So that's one idea you had yesterday. Actually, you were saying, instead of doing just a seminar, why don't we do some event? It's more than just somebody comes in, teaches a couple of techniques, leaves, and then there's no
connection.
Interaction with people in the community. It's a small community, jiu-jitsu, so it's not like we're dealing with millions and millions of people. It's a number that is growing, but I think an event like that would be super cool.
So the plan right now is we ran our first tournament last year under Fights Unite. We haven't, this is, I guess, our official announcement, but we're going to be running it again in the summer. The tentative date, or I guess the date we're going with right now, is August 15th.
August 15th.
Yeah, in Kingston, Ontario. So right now, as you know, Montreal and Quebec have a lot of kind of legal issues with running tournaments. So either they have to be held like an hour outside in Ottawa, or on in Hawkesbury. I know Fabio Holanda's got one coming up soon.
Correct.
But for people from Toronto to make it all the way to Ottawa is sometimes tough. And then if there are quite a few tournaments in the Toronto area, but for people from Montreal to make that trek is a big investment too, unless it's like one of the bigger ones. So doing it in Kingston, kind of the hope is that it'll be a little easier for both communities, and a chance for them to, as they have been historically, compete with and alongside each other in a spot that's not impossible to get to, and then have some super fights, have yourself, hopefully Ethan, hopefully some other top flight talent, whether Canadian, or maybe we'll even do like a Canada US thing, and then do a training camp after that.
So the Fights Unite competition, first question for you, it's gonna be under what kind of format? Is it big like divisions, different weight classes, different belts, gi, no gi?
Yeah, so
Okay.
it'll be a regular tournament, IBJJF rules under the Ontario Jiu-Jitsu Association, and their rules require us to stick to IBJJF rules.
Absolutely.
I know yourself for sure, and a lot of people would love heel hooks to get into the mix, and I know some folks are working on that, but right now we're sticking with IBJJF, so it'll be a kind of an open tournament, as most tournaments are, with some super fights on top of that, and then for everyone who participates as a competitor, they'll get a discount on the training camp.
Sick.
And hopefully, we're figuring stuff out. So like all the footage that we got from this last one, all the instruction that everyone did, all the rolling, the participants who got to attend, they all got access to that footage. So maybe if people can't do the training camp after for whatever reason, we'll figure out something where they can get some of the footage, get access to some of the instruction, even if they can't make it.
One thing that was really fun, and it's kind of bringing memories, when I did the ADCC West Coast trials, Mo did something similar. He had the trials. We ran all the divisions, women's, men's, from 66 all the way to plus 99, and then he had the super fights after. And then the next day there could have been something.
Exactly, right? Like that's the thing. Like especially with events with higher level competitors, like you have all these amazing people there, and it's like what a shame not to give them a chance to train together. And and the Fight Unite kind of mission statement is much bigger than just this. But one thing we were talking about last night is one thing I've always thought, like you go to the big tournaments and it's really fun to see like all the big teams, Checkmat, Alliance, like Atos. Like you'll see like hundreds of people just screaming out their team name and chanting back and forth, and that's fun and cool. But we were talking like when we see two top flight guys or girls like compete and have a great match, like personally I don't care so much who wins. Like I feel like the audience wins, like humanity wins by getting to see the beauty that these two warriors bring out in pushing each other. And so of course there is value to the kind of tribe team vibe in some tournaments, but at the same time I feel like it'd be great to celebrate without that competitive vibe. And I know you did how do you pronounce it, Modolfo. That sounded like an amazing training camp, and it's like even though some of the guys that were there like might compete against each other, it's still like sounds like it was a great vibe. And it's like, why not just create more opportunities for things like that?
100% agree with you. There's something about what you said that I really agree with is the fact that when there's a nice match going on, you kind of forget who's winning, who's losing. Obviously, down the line, yeah, the results, but very few people will remember the results and get super attached to it. When it's like a sick match, like you look at, for example, a match that happened, Gary Tonin and Polaris at Polaris. It's a sick match. People loved it. People still watch it, and that's something cool to keep for years to come.
Yeah.
As a souvenir, as like something.
Gary and Crone, like that's one of the best matches in recent memory. You know, and like, yeah, it is. You know, when you see guys like Gordon just going like trash, amazing guys, that's cool too. But it's, for me, it's incredible to see like just high level jiu-jitsu, and we do want to celebrate the winners and not, get into a Pollyanna, oh, everyone's amazing. Like, forget about what makes it so cool is that they are really giving everything they've got and trying to win. But at the same time, it's easy to get lost in that and focus too much on the winner, as though like that's all that matters. And, so trying to find that balance. And I think the idea of like bringing people together with the opportunity to train, good vibes, post tournament, outside of a competitive environment, provides that kind of opportunity.
It was really sick, man. Like yesterday, I was teaching, and then a lot of guys were like, "Man, really nice performance on Saturday. Really put it out there. It was fun to watch." And it just makes me want to teach more, give more than what I would. Like, you come into a seminar, you're tired. It's your fifth in a row. I don't know how many times you're getting fed up, but this is a little different.
It's energizing.
It is. It is super energizing. So you're running this tournament mid-August. The date still to be confirmed. Location still to be confirmed. All these are like ideas. And you're running it under the Fight to Unite flag.
That's right.
Right? I know a bit of Fight to Unite. Our listeners would like to know. Tell us a bit about it.
So Fight to Unite was kind of an idea that started about a year ago, and the idea being that, like, look how many great organizations there are in jiu-jitsu, reorg, that's helping like veterans submit the stigma, that's kind of speaking up about mental health. There's so many groups that are using jiu-jitsu for good, and while we're coming together to like really bang and push each other in tournaments, look how much good jiu-jitsu has like done for your life or my life, or probably 99, like probably 100% of the people listening to this, right?
Yes.
So it's done so much good, and it's an opportunity, when you run a tournament, or when you, like yourself with this podcast, you have a platform now, you have the opportunity to get a message out. So the question is like, what's the message? So Fight to Unite, it's like, yeah, we're there to like tussle, we're there to fight, but it's all in the spirit of positivity and making a positive impact. And as you and I have talked about, I've been working on this stuff outside of jiu-jitsu, a kind of goodwill project outside of jiu-jitsu for a long time. And the idea is that, martial artists, or we'll say even just the jiu-jitsu community, we're an example of a community. And a community can just focus on the things that the community is about. Where, we can just talk about jiu-jitsu. A bunch of like dog lovers can just focus on dogs, or, fans of sports cars can just focus on that. Or they can use the fact that they've got this community and this group to be an example to other groups. And I feel like we can, long story short, the Fight to Unite is about martial artists and jiu-jitsu people in general coming together to speak up about making the world a better place. I'm gonna hold off on getting too deep into the actual mission until it's kind of announced publicly, but the idea is that it's an example. We can be an example to other communities outside of martial arts to bring people together for good. And that's really the spirit behind it all. And in time, hopefully soon, I'll be able to share more and get people who are interested on board to help support this impact project.
I mean, it's hard not to support something like that. You know what I mean? Anybody who gets into jiu-jitsu will like slowly but surely will improve in other aspects in their life.
It's
right?
inevitable.
inevitable. You know,
Yeah.
you slowly learn about yourself. You get to know yourself better. You know,
Mhm.
through training, competing. Also, you get to discover a side of you that it's very good,
Life changing. Yeah.
life changing, of course. And I think if there's one community that would be that could set a good example is the jiu-jitsu one. A
Absolutely.
lot of time I say it to joke, like, oh, if two like I don't know, two politicians put up mats
Oh,
and have a roll, what do you think is gonna happen after? These guys are gonna be best buddies, man.
absolutely right.
Best buddies.
Absolutely.
Even yesterday, man, like I'll be training, I'll be going hard with one of the guys. After it's brushed off, it's gone.
That's one of the beauties of jiu-jitsu that
Hmm.
like, of course, like people can there's a time, odd time, like someone doesn't read the role right and they give too much of the wrong energy, but 99% of the time, like even if you're giving 100%, you're really trying to beat that person. That's in the spirit of making each other better, and
Hmm.
like that vibe is integral to jiu-jitsu, and it's what's made it, it's spreading like wildfire.
Yeah.
Um, it's changing lives everywhere.
So speaking of spreading like wildfire, you've been doing jiu-jitsu for about
24 years now.
24 years
Yeah.
since I've been two.
Yeah.
So what major difference you see between 24 years ago and now?
Oh man. Well, I mean, it's everywhere now, right? It's like jiu-jitsu's a household name, whereas like when I started, everyone in the like GTA, the Greater Toronto Area, would have to go out to Oakville where you were teaching your seminar yesterday, or Etobicoke, would have to go an hour out of the city
Jesus.
just to find a bar that would even show the UFC. Let alone, like when I started, there were no gyms in Toronto proper. You had to go north of the city to find
Hmm.
somewhere that once had Hoyce or Hickson for a seminar, and they're like trying to piece together classes based on, maybe they had judo training or something like that, and now they're watching instructional videos. Like there were certainly no real jiu-jitsu schools back then, and
Hmm.
now they're popping up on almost every corner, and and the numbers of people that are competing, participating have just exploded. There seems to have been, like, back in the day, there was no distinction between like sports jiu-jitsu and self-defense or MMA. Is like jiu-jitsu is a fighting art.
Hmm.
And as the sport's grown in popularity, of course, you see niche positions and like a bigger distinction growing between gi and no gi, especially with, a lot of the Keenan's type innovations with the worm guard and whatnot. But I feel very strongly that, like, yeah, there is this, like, sport is separating in terms of techniques a little bit, but I forget who it was that posted it recently. Some famous jiu-jitsu person made a comment recently that, like, I'd put my money on a sport competitor who's actively competing and is used to that real energy versus someone who just practices self-defense techniques. Because the beautiful thing for me about jiu-jitsu, what makes it so effective, is the intensity. And if we're punching and kicking, obviously, like, they're brilliant striking arts, but we always have to hold back.
Hmm.
We can't be not, unless we're like what was Vanderlei Silva's team, shootbox, unless we're shootbox or like some really like hyper intense team. And even then, it's just like, look at the long term impacts. It's not really safe to go 100%. Whereas jiu-jitsu, we can go 100% and no one gets hurt.
Hmm.
The what's most scary about self-defense for the untrained person is, one, not knowing what to do, and jiu-jitsu gives you a game plan, and two, it's the intensity of it. And jiu-jitsu allows you to train real 100% intensity without kind of getting injured as a result.
Hmm.
And that for me is like a really important distinction. So back to, where jiu-jitsu was 20 years ago, I mean, the level of instruction didn't really exist. When I first started training, it was me and my buddy Yanni, who got me into jiu-jitsu, who's a black belt now as well.
Hmm.
Um, we would have to go and train in community centers, and like event when the internet, late mid to late 90s emerged. We found other people who were training, and we'd come together, but like there were no actual schools, let alone proper instructors. I remember it was such a like exciting thing if we heard, oh, there's a purple belt in town, and like now, there's dozens of black belts in the city, and dozens probably of schools in the greater Toronto area, and it's professionalized quite a bit as well. Like my my first school was a women only school because like 2004 I started it, just because like the Gracies had a women's self defense program that I thought was amazing, but at the time, like, and there, I'm sure there's still gyms like this. Every gym you went to is like guys in Vale Tudo shorts with no shirt, dirty gyms, and like, so you have this amazing art that's brilliant for self defense, and yet there's not really a professional environment. So that was part of the reason I started that school, and now, you know, there are like, you look at a school like AOJ, and it's just like gorgeous world class facility, and now a lot of schools are trying to mirror that vibe. We try to have a more professional vibe because jiu-jitsu's a transformative art for anyone. And the reality, some people are just like born tough people, and they're happy to go into the grimiest gym and get beat up on day one. They don't care. Most people are not like that. I think Marcus Avelin says, or had said once, old school martial arts is about weeding out the weak, taking the strong and making them stronger. But the new approach is take the weak and make them strong. And unless you have an environment where maybe a softer person is going to feel comfortable coming in day one, they're never going to come back. You're never going to have the chance to make them what they can be. So yeah, the art, the schools, the culture has evolved so much. Now there are actual, like, you're a professional, you're full time. You know what I mean? That didn't exist when I started. You'd have the rare outlier who was like going to Brazil and training. Not going into the work world, but that's now that's not uncommon.
So for this sport, you've seen it grow from 20 something years ago till now. Now, moving forward, I think a good goal would be to spread it to more and more people, because there's still a lot of people don't know what it is, depending on where you are.
Absolutely.
Like if you when I went to California for ADCC, people left and like, oh, you do jiu-jitsu? Yeah, you look at his ears. This people know. Yeah. Sometimes you still say jiu-jitsu and people have no idea what it is.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And then it's a matter of numbers, like people that follow competitions, people that, just sign up to gyms, buy gear, whatever the case may be, like help the sport grow. How do you think we can help this sport reach more people?
I mean, that's happening if nothing changes, just by schools opening up and becoming more professional and maturing over time. That's going to happen anyway. But I think there is an opportunity to really like take things to the next level. Like you look at what's happening in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
Every child does jiu-jitsu in school.
Crazy.
How crazy. And why is that so powerful? Because jiu-jitsu improves your life on every level, not just, oh, I'm a better fighter. So it's like it enhances so many life skills that schools often neglect, from self-esteem to actual self-defense skills to interpersonal skills. I knew a girl way back that was trying to start a salsa in schools program to teach healthy touch. Well, jiu-jitsu has that built in. It's like we naturally have the kind of respect built into the art, and a lot of schools struggle, say, with especially in today where like everyone has to walk on eggshells and you can't say the wrong thing. It's very hard to discipline kids, but jiu-jitsu has discipline built in. So I think the biggest opportunity, and the challenges that school systems are so bureaucratic, but I don't see why there isn't jiu-jitsu. I mean, I know the logistical problems, but it would benefit every single child if jiu-jitsu were in schools as a regular part of um, their day-to-day.
There are certain places. Like I remember one of my friends from Montreal, Glenn. He was trying to implement it into schools. Is there any resistance? Do you guys encounter any like kind of resistance from schools to put it in, or
There are some programs here where people are, say, going to one school for a week and teaching a self-defense thing, but for me, I haven't. I mean, I do some work in schools, but not as much like teaching a jiu-jitsu class as kind of character development stuff. But I know Rory actually does quite a bit anti-bullying stuff in schools. But for me, the vision, like the best case scenario, is um, getting it into all schools, and that only happens kind of at the highest levels, the bureaucratic level, because there are some people doing individual programs here and there, and that's amazing, and I applaud them and I encourage them to keep going. But for me, it's like, how do we create a systemic change? How do we get it into all schools? Get, I guess, whatever governing bodies to see, okay, we should be hiring. There's so much talent. Even Canada's not got certainly not compared to the States, the most broad or mature jiu-jitsu culture and development. I mean, it's come an incredible way. There were tons of black belts all over the place, tons of high-level competitors, but because there are so many great people, it's like, man, and so many people who do jiu-jitsu would love to be able to do it full time and would love to be able to share it. So it's like, how can we organize to get that in schools? And
there's one interesting thing. On Monday, I was invited by you to come and help out, film something. Tell us about what that was about.
So I think you'll see this more and more because so many people have observed like the life-changing impacts of jiu-jitsu and how much philosophy there is built into jiu-jitsu. So I've co-written or co-authored a book called Sales Jiu-Jitsu with a very successful sales person, Daniel Moskowitz, who's done very well in the corporate world. He came out I have an entrepreneurs jiu-jitsu group called Mastermind BJJ.
Yeah.
We met there. And as he was hearing some of how I was teaching, he was noticing so many overlaps. And so it's a book and a course for salespeople on how to apply the same process you would use to prep for, win, and learn from a jiu-jitsu competition, and then applying that to a sales engagement. So basically using a sales engagement as an analogy or using a competition as an analogy for a sales engagement. So I came up with this framework, pre-fight, fight, winning, and then post-fight. That's like this cycle that you would institute into your. I mean, really, I shared it at Mastermind BJJ retreat, just that framework itself with all the subcomponents. And one of the comments back was like, "Wow, this is like the process for winning at anything," and that's part of why people love jiu-jitsu so much, because it teaches you how to face your challenges and conquer your challenges in any area of life. So so luckily we had you in town, and we needed a Yuki for for some of the techniques we were filming.
It was a win-win for everybody, especially for me, man. Easy gig.
Yeah,
good return on the time spent. But I think we were talking about how we can spread the sport. I think that's a good way to spread it. People that are working hard in offices, spending their day, working hard, making phone calls and meetings, stressed out, big deals, big money. Think it's good to have something like jiu-jitsu to fall back on and to spend the best hour of their day just as an outlet, let that energy out and just be surrounded by positivity. And just a sick community
Mm-hmm.
in general.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the book called?
Sales Jiu-Jitsu.
Sales Jiu-Jitsu.
Mm-hmm.
Keep an eye out for when is it? When do you think that will?
We should get the first copies in June,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're going to be releasing the course sometime around there. But it's I believe the URL we're going to be launching the book from is salesjujitsubook.com. And yeah, it's pretty excited for it actually.
Mm-hmm. And what about Mastermind BJJ? How has that been going?
It's been great. It's uh, basically, you know, like a sales engagement, jiu-jitsu can teach all of us, but I think entrepreneurs especially a lot about kind of how to face our challenges. Not only the fact that it's amazing stress relief, but um, I feel like jiu-jitsu very much is entrepreneurship. You're there by yourself. You win or lose based on your own efforts. You can't really rely on others, and you got to take full responsibility for everything that's happening. If someone, and it forces you to be very present, just like business. Like if someone passes your guard and mounts you, you can think about the good old days when you had them in your guard, but like that doesn't help. It's like, what do you do now from where you are? That's all that matters. Jiu-jitsu teaches you not only that like, okay, you got to focus on where you are today, what you can do from here, but it also teaches you, we were talking about this the other day, kind of this practical optimism. you know it shows you that you can get out of things that when you first see them, you're like, oh, that's inescapable. But then you learn, oh, wow, everything can be stopped. Everything can get out of it. And that teaches you, that's a really important lesson in life, because, we're going to face challenges that will seem insurmountable, but that practical optimism, the first step in getting out of something is believing you can. And then there's a larger process. Okay, find someone else who knows the kind of the information you want. Like get a teacher who's been there and who knows how to deal with this, a mentor, right? So yeah, so the group's been good. We ran our first retreat in the summer in Muskoka, which is 2 hours from Toronto. It's a beautiful lakeside mansion, and we had mats out on the deck. And
When was that?
this was in August
Last
or
August.
July. Yeah.
Last year.
This past summer, 2019.
Sick.
And yeah, it was just this collection of like really brilliant entrepreneurs. The vibe was amazing. We had a private chef. Yes. And it allowed us to just really focus on, we had business workshops, life workshops, jiu-jitsu, obviously. And the vibe was incredible. I feel like, one of the comments was, it's so rare at this stage in life to like make new good friends, and everyone kind of walked away with that. And especially for entrepreneurs who tend to be so solo in their work. It's
That's so true. That's so true, man. No offense to all my other friends, the listeners, the non-jiu-jitsu listeners. If you're listening to this, by the way, props. But most people I'm around are from that community, jiu-jitsu community, 24/7. It's true, man. If you don't have any friends and you're listening to this, join a jiu-jitsu school.
Oh man,
it will change. It will change your life.
Absolutely,
without a doubt. I think what we're doing, you and I, it's very similar. We're trying to use the sport as a means to, just help out and just give people something to look forward to. Maybe different groups of people, and maybe more towards the competitors, towards the guys who are trying to be good and learn the little details. It's more broad, just having it in their lives. So it's super important to have somebody like you in the community, trying to spread it to the most basic beginners, and just taking them through the basics in a very solid manner.
Yeah, I mean, I for me, it's that I feel jiu-jitsu can like really elevate people's lives. So like we have a sick competition team. We have super high level competitors, and I want to support them, but a lot of schools fall into the trap of and not, I shouldn't say into the trap. If that's the kind of school you want, that's brilliant, of just being a competition school. But for me, I want to support people if they want to become world champions. but I want to support people if they just want to get fit too. And and you mentioned beginners, and that's been an area that I've really focused on. And so later this quarter, I'll be launching a site just for beginners, bjj101.tv, which is, I've been teaching now for 15 or more years, and really trying to think about when someone's brand new, they've never seen jiu-jitsu, like what do they need to see? And so I've got a course just for people like before they even step on the mat, the BJJ primer. I've got a site that, basically my new blue belt curriculum. Most blue belt curricula, if they even exist, and a lot of schools don't have them, and that's part of why I created this to help other schools. But if a blue belt curriculum exists, generally has like 50 to 150 techniques.
Jeez.
And you can be a blue belt knowing that many techniques, but inevitably you're gonna have big holes. Like, so this is got like 450 techniques. But I feel it's actually easier to learn because you've seen how 10th Planet chunks they do like sequences of moves, and I love what they're doing, but it's just very advanced. And so where's that for the beginner? And so BJJ 101 is about providing like deep professional jiu-jitsu education from like day one, you've never even trained, all the way, to not just blue belt but beyond. So really very excited for that. That's like literally been years in the making, and we just implemented it here in September. The feedback's been amazing, and there's another school in Kingston, actually, Hayabusa Academy, has been using it since September as well for their curriculum. And so we've been keeping it under wraps, but we're about to launch it. And the idea is that, whether it's a purple belt in Thailand who has a school and no curriculum, or even a black belt who's got a well-established school but wants something structured, all instructors kind of struggle with the same thing. What do I teach and how do I teach it? And like, say you choose to focus on side control escapes for a month. Okay, then your people haven't, and then you do a different position every month. Okay, then maybe it's been 4 months since your people saw mount escapes. Like, that doesn't really work, right? So that's coming up. I'm super stoked.
To be honest, myself I could benefit from something like that. When I teach personally, and I've seen many of my teammates, friends teach, we go into what we're good at, what we're comfortable teaching, and we kind of forget how we felt starting the sport. And I think having something to fall back on, like the BJJ 101, could be very, very, very useful.
I think so. Like, think of yourself, like, say you open a school tomorrow. Most, like, you would attract some high level people, and for them, you can teach whatever. Like, you can teach advanced stuff and they'll get it, and you'll be able to see, oh, they could really benefit from this half butterfly thing or this leg attack entry. But when someone comes in day one, that's really the challenge most schools have. It's like, what do I teach them? And first, how do I explain what jiu-jitsu is? Most places, and I would say 99% of schools, you go into a class, and most classes you're learning like 3 techniques. Okay, so day one you learn 3, next time you learn another 3, next time you learn another 3. Who explained how jiu-jitsu works? Who explained, like, Henry and Huron Gracie do a great job of like breaking down some of the theory, but do schools, like, if you were to start a job, high level job, they spend the first 2 weeks onboarding you. They spend the first 2 weeks explaining how things work so that you can really accelerate your ability to learn and contribute. But where's the onboarding for jiu-jitsu? So that's why I created the BJJ primer, just because here we have the same challenge. Like, people come in, they jump into a class, it's lesson 7 of the BJJ. Okay, but who explained to them, say we're doing mount escape. Okay, what's mount? How many basic positions are there?
So here's my question, because I had the chance of teaching beginners when I was going through my ACL rehab. And my good friend Valerie from Mizu Studio, one of the sponsors of this podcast, actually, sometimes would let me teach the beginners class, and it was more challenging than teaching the advanced. Now, when people come in for the first day, we'll show them a couple of basic movements like shrimping, bridging, granby rolling, whatever, forward rolling. You know what I mean? But then now these guys, how much time do they need alone, or is it better to put them in a class with everybody? How do you split that?
This is exactly one of the challenges that all instructors have. It's like, okay, do I give them a private lesson? Do I have a class just for people on their first day or week? Do I say only let people join every 2 months so everyone's on the same page? Like,
Damn, that's
right?
smart. That's
There's
smart.
there's all these different options. So because we don't necessarily have things in place right now where we can have people like, I would love it if everyone did a private lesson on the primer so that they've not only felt like comfortable, but that I knew for sure that they knew everything. Too often it happens. A person's brand new, they go into a regular class, they're taught to shoulder roll, or they're asked to shoulder roll as part of the warm up, and they've never done it, and then they get hurt.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we can't let that happen because that person could have been the next Marcelo Garcia, and now they quit jiu-jitsu because they think it's not for them. So what we do is
They're the next Herbert Santos.
well, if they're getting hurt from a shoulder roll, they probably weren't the next Herbert Santos. But we basically send them free access to the primer.
Sick.
So when they join, it's like, okay, here's the basic movements, here's the theory, because even just the core strategy, close the gap, take them down, get to the mount, understanding that is really, what is the guard? The guard are your legs guarding your upper body. And then, okay, top person doesn't want the legs guarding the upper body, so they want to pass it. Like, how you explain the concepts. And the thing is, people pick that up, but it takes sometimes 6 months, a year for it to like just click. Can we speed that up for them? And and so I suggest every school do something, whether it's an email or a video or a private class, even once a month, to explain the concepts. Or that's why the BJJ primer is there. So, if you want, there are a lot of great affiliations with great curricula, like Alliance and 10th Planet and Grace University. But, and I've spoken to other black belts that are like, I need help with curriculum, but I love my instructor and my affiliation. I don't want to leave. So they're kind of stuck, right? So the idea that BJJ 101 is kind of, you don't have to leave your team to implement professional
That's awesome.
instruction. So that's the vision.
Really appreciate the little tips given on this podcast, man. Elliot, I think we made the
rounds.
Made the round. That's pretty much what I wanted to ask you about. Now, very important, because this, I really like the angle you're taking for the sport, like helping people stay in the game. They walked into a jiu-jitsu school, which is already a hard thing. How do we keep them? That's something you're doing a great job and a big service to the sport. We'll have all that information in the bio. We'll keep people up to date when you release the Fundamentals 101. I'm sure everybody can at least take a look at it and pick 1-2 things. So first thing, before we wrap it up, where can people contact you for information, for questions, whatever the case may be?
So if they want to reach me directly, you can always email me through the gym, Elliott, 2 L's, 2 T's, at openmat.ca, or through elliottbayev.com, salesjujitsubook.com for anyone who's in that space, and bjj101.tv for anyone who's interested either in kind of, filling in the gaps in their own jiu-jitsu, their fundamentals, or for any school owners who are interested in having a professional curriculum support. And there are many different ways that can be used, but any of those should be good. And of course, fightunite.org.
Fight to Unite. That's a big one. That's a big one. Fight to Unite. Personally, if I open a jiu-jitsu school, I would need something like that. You know what I mean? And it's what I like about it. It's not a big commitment. You're not affiliated. You're not like committed to something. It's there. Use it. Do whatever you want with it. You know what I mean?
That's the whole point, right?
That's the whole point. You know, we don't. He doesn't want to tie you down or anything. It's just ideas to keep people in the game and spread the sport and make this world a better place, innit? Without any further ado, we move on to the support section of the podcast. I want to thank, first of all, Fight to Unite, Elliott Bayev, OpenMat for having me here in the GTA, allowing me to move around the area, teach seminars, make a living, go back to New York, level up, bring that back, spread the sport, advance, level up everybody. Big shout out to you guys. We got Scramble Canada, Scramble Stuff.com. Check out all their stores. If you want quality gear, that's where you can find it. Roll Forever, website coming soon. Betty Boo, we love you. Gets it done. Shout out to Mizu Studio. I miss you guys back home. I'll see you very soon. Physiomentum, get you fixed up if you're in the Montreal area. Big thank you to Under the Gi also for their mission. They're using plastic from oceans. They're doing their how do you call that? They're doing rashis on their own. They're not like getting them from ancient.
Cap Macedo, she's amazing. Yeah,
she's doing everything on their own. Yeah. Legit. Give him a little follow. Who else am I forgetting? I think that's about it. Thank you guys for tuning in. Just subscribe, share, follow, spread the word. This episode is a good one for you guys to let somebody who doesn't do jiu-jitsu maybe give it a listen. If you can get one person into the sport, I think then you're doing everybody a huge favor. And that's about it. Anything else, Elliott?
No, thanks for the opportunity, and hopefully I'll see all the listeners on the mat one day.
We'll see you all at Fight to Unite, innit?
There we go.
All right, guys, have a good one. Ciao, ciao.